To that great floating map of unreal estate, the one where you find Shangri-La, Brigadoon, and Emerald City, you can add the village of Ballyturk. That's the title of the dark and enigmatic cosmic farce by Enda Walsh that opened on Sunday night at St. N's Warehouse in Brooklyn. And it's quite a place to spend and, if possible, stall time. To be clear, or as clear as it's possible to be in discussing a chimera, Ballyturk is not quite the setting of Ballyturk, which is directed with rabid verve by Mr. Walsh and features a highly expressive cast of three. That quaint, gossip-clotted town doesn't really exist, except in the imaginations of a fraternal pair identified only as 1 and 2.1. Tad Murphy is the younger of them, a reedy and anxious being prone to seizures and terrors. 2. Michael Murphy is of a hardier constitution, and steadier on his feet, at least marginally. There's a touch of both Laurel and Hardy and Cain and Abel to these overgrown boys, who sometimes dream of fratricide. By and large, though, they get along. They have to. For all intents and purposes, they're the sole inhabitants of their very limited universe, which would appear to be a single warehouse cum bunker. Jamie Varden is the designer, that looks uncompromisingly bleak, though it has a few tricks up its walls. Aside from some unexplained red balloons on the floor when the show begins, the room's main decorative accents are wall-filling, smudged scribbles and drawings of half-formed faces. Such is the lad's own portrait gallery, which depicts the townsfolk of Ballyturk, whose doings Mr. Murphy and Mr. Murphy's 1 and 2 act out again and again, with jaw-dropping virtuosity, in what feels like an eternal soap opera. What sounds like an intricate radio drama from the world beyond. Helen Atkinson is the sound designer, occasionally penetrates their activities, as do shards of crazy pop hits and tidal waves of somber, romantic music, by Tehu Tirdu. But 1 and 2 are so removed from what we think of as reality, that when a buzzing housefly invades their precincts, one doesn't have a clue as to what it is. People familiar with other work by Mr. Walsh, whose early Disco Pigs opened recently in a revival at the Irish Repertory Theatre, may sense that they've been here before. A dramatist of ferociously specific imagination, Mr. Walsh revels in placing bewildered but feisty characters in hermetically sealed environments, creating what might be described as ontological equivalents of the locked room mystery. His The Walworth Farce, in which an Irish family of men repeatedly acts out the same play in a crumbling London flat, is the most obvious forebear of Ballyturk. Seen at St. N's Warehouse in 2008, Walworth was a wild ride of a play, for sure, with its author's distinctive cocktail, Molotov, of madcap stagecraft and verbal fireworks. But Walworth was, to use a metaphor Mr. Walsh's agoraphobic characters would no doubt recoil from a walk in the park compared to Ballyturk, which was first staged in Galway, Ireland, in 2014. The head-scratching ghost of Samuel Beckett, and the more sinister spirit of Harold Pinter, haunt Ballyturk, which traffics unapologetically in literature's biggest theme. I mean the point or pointlessness of life in the face of death, and how we avoid and embrace our ultimate ends. And, particularly, how people block the view of mortality with small talk and its physical equivalents. As 2 observes toward the play's conclusion, all he and 1 have been doing with their elaborate fantasies of their fantasy village has been filling a room with words. By that time, 1 and 2 have been forced into a reckoning of sorts by the arrival of a suave stranger in a trench coat. Call her 3, the script does. Embodied with the silken swagger of a film noir villain by Olwen Fouer, 3 makes one hell of an entrance. She also talks like an infernal angel, shifting to song, the nightclub standard time after time, with good reason, when a microphone drops from the skies. What she has to say about giving life purpose by reaching its edge is pure poetry, and oh so alarming to a pair of chaps who have been doing their best to sustain their daily rituals of make-believe. Ballyturk is so verbally dense that it's possible to be hypnotized, if not numbed, by some of its lush spoken arias. Even at 90 minutes, it would be better shorter. Fortunately, Mr. Walsh's plays by no means live exclusively by the words he so adores and reviles. As a director, he knows how to weave a web of images that defy language. And he infuses them with a kinetic charge that equally brings to mind the mayhem of Mack Sennett and the shadows of Ingmar Bergman. The crucial lighting is by Adam Silverman. For a spirited summing up of the frantic emptiness of our daily routines, it's hard to match the sight of Mr. Murphy and Mr. Murphy. Even the actors' names match the vaudevillian sensibility, going through the morning motions of getting dressed, having breakfast, cleaning up and exercising. This is all conducted at a fast-forward tempo with the 1982 ABC pop hit The Look of Love, and it is pure, moronic bliss. It's hard to imagine a successful version of Ballyturk without Mr. Walsh presiding, obsessively, as director. As it is, the line between his characters marking time and a writer filling space can feel irritatingly thin. But no matter your immediate response to Ballyturk, it is likely to take up residence in your thoughts after you've seen it. I've been finding it hard to banish that first, icy image of 3, seen as if at the end of an airless and light-stripped tunnel. For all the teetering towers of language that the boys of Ballyturk build for themselves, the last word here, as it is in life, is beyond words.